Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Boy, it was an interesting day with our first round of confirmation hearings in the Senate. And of course, we had Secretary of Defense nominee Pete Hegseth, who just, honestly, he deserves an award for listening to so many squawking women all like happening at the same time and not even batting an eyelash. I give him a round of applause. It was actually very impressive. And so he had this round of questioning by many of these senators. And I want to get into some of the theatrics that you see that our taxpayer money is funding with all of these senators, with these, Congress people who go up on Capitol Hill and they sit there and they make it all about them so that they can take the clip and they can tweet it out, post it on X, whatever you want to call it, and get all of these likes and views from their radical lefty constituents. But first, I kind of want to set the stage here, okay? Pete Hegseth entering where he was about to get grilled for hours upon end. And there were a ton of people who welcomed him and, of course, started chanting USA. Here's some of that. Now, with that, I feel that I should just show you the other side. Okay, so you had the supporters, but you also had the disruptors. And while he was trying to give some of his opening statement, and while he was trying to, explain himself to these senators before they really got into the questioning, there were several different disruptors who ended up having to be physically removed. So here is, of course, some of the other side of that.
Addressing the recruiting crisis, the retention crisis, and readiness crisis in our ranks.
Members of the security force will remove
carrying
members.
Someone out.
Veterans are committing suicide and are homeless. My father, a veteran, committed suicide, and you're sending money to
Sit down. You're gonna go sit down.
I'm leaving, man.
Bravo, take him. He's leaving.
He's going now. Leaving.
Well, so that was
hands off me.
You may continue.
Someone whose grievance was that veterans are committing suicide and that they're homeless. Another one said, you heard someone yell misogynist while they were being escorted out. So just the general typical chaos dog and pony show that you would expect to find over there on Capitol Hill. But as he got into this questioning, I want to play for you. Let's start with Senator Tim Sheehy. Is that how you say that, Stephen? Sheehy.
Sheehy.
Honestly, it's his fault for not having a name that is pronounced easily. But he was talking to Pete Hegseth about, let's just ask some basic questions. Let's get back to the basics here. When it comes to the military, what should we actually be talking about? And so I want to play this exchange with Pete Hegseth, getting back to the freaking basics of the military. Watch.
How many genders are there? Tough one. Senator, there are two genders.
I know that well. I'm a Sheehy, so I'm on
Sheehy.
board.
Sheehy.
What is the diameter of the rifle round fired out of an M4 A1 rifle?
That's a 5.56.
How many push-ups can you do?
I did 5 sets of 47 this morning.
All right, there you go. Okay, now we're talking. Well, New Hampshire Senator Jeannie Shaheen, not to be confused with Sheehy, okay, asked him, because, they keep trying to talk about, he doesn't like women. He doesn't think women should be in the military, which honestly I wouldn't hate. But nonetheless, she asked him about his opinion on women in the military. Here's that exchange.
Well, you also write in your book, The War on Warriors, with the chapter
the deadly obsession with women warriors that, quote, not only are women comparatively less effective than men in combat roles, but they are more likely to be objectified by the enemy and their own nation in the moral realms of war. Mr. Hegseth, should we take it to believe that you believe that the two women on this committee who have served honorably and with distinction made our military less effective and less capable?
I'm incredibly grateful for the two women who've served our military in uniform and including in the Central Intelligence Agency, contributions on the battlefield, indispensable contributions. Senator, I would like to clarify, when I'm talking about that issue, it's not about the capabilities of men and women, it's about standards. And this committee has talked a lot about standards. Standards that we, unfortunately, over time, have seen eroded in certain duty positions, certain schools, certain places, which affects readiness, which is what I care about the most, readiness on the battlefield.
I appreciate that.
And so my comments point time and time again to standards.
Guys, this is so elementary. It's crazy. You should have a certain set of standards, and you should all be in agreement that that is the lowest level of physical fitness, of muscular mass, of whatever criteria you want to set. That is the lowest basic level that someone should have to meet in order to qualify to go and serve their country. Like that is so elementary. And if a woman doesn't meet it because she is has less muscle mass and is smaller than a man, which typically that's the case, if she doesn't meet it, listen, it's not personal, okay? This is about national security. This is about protecting our country. And more than that, I would say, this is about protecting their fellow military members who need to know that if they're in total crap, I'm trying real hard to censor myself here, guys. I don't know why. I just am. You're welcome. If they're just like, they're in a total crap storm and things are about to go south, they know that the person next to them can protect them at the same level that they can do for their fellow servicemen. Like, this is about protecting our own as well. So to make it about some man-woman battle is just ridiculous. On top of that, we talked about this yesterday. Women don't belong in combat roles, period. For a multitude of reasons. Number one, the women need to be home mothering their children. They don't need to go out getting shot at in war. We've always agreed that that was the standard until like 5 minutes ago when the left went all the way off the reservation. That should not be a controversial position. But other than that, we don't need to dumb down standards for women. And trust me when I tell you, feminists, it is doing nothing for women's rights to dumb down the standards for women just so you can get them into the same position as men. That does the opposite, actually. Giving yourself a handicap is not the flex that you think it is, okay? So I want to also play Kirsten Gillibrand, who, remember when she ran for president and that lasted like 5 seconds? That was fun. Well, I don't know. I would just say that the Joe Biden's time in office it's not been good for her, okay? And I want to show you the mentally ill New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who just, I mean, you want to talk about theatrics and a dog and pony show and trying to put on a good performance so you can go back to your constituents and say, look what I did. There is Kirsten Gillibrand as the embodiment of that. Watch.
You've denigrated active duty service members. We have hundreds of women who are currently in the infantry. Lethal members of our military serving in the infantry, but you degrade them. You say, we need moms, but not in the military, especially in combat units. So specific to Senator Cotton's question, because Senator Cotton was giving you layups to differentiate between different types of combat. And specifically, as Secretary, would you take any action to reinstitute the combat arms exclusion for female service members, knowing full well you have hundreds of women doing that job right now? And the standards Your 2 mile run, Tom, is about the Army Combat Fitness Test. It is not the requirements to have an MOS 11 Bravo, which is the infantry. These are the requirements today for people serving in the industry, men and women. They are gender neutral, and they are very difficult to meet. They have not been reduced in any way, and our combat units, our infantry is lethal. So please explain specifically, because you will be in charge of 3 million personnel in the DOD. Everything you've said in these public statements is politics. I don't want women. I don't want moms. What's wrong with a mom, by the way? Once you have babies, you therefore are no longer able to be lethal?
No, you're
basically saying women, after they have children, can't ever serve in the military in a combat role. It's a silly thing to say.
It's a silly thing to think.
Beneath the position that you are aspiring to. To denigrate LGBTQ service members is a mistake. If you are a sharpshooter, you're as lethal regardless of what your gender identity is, regardless of who you love. So please know this to be a true statement. So you say it was a political thing.
Please know this to be a true statement. Why? Trust me, bro.
It undermined us. Social engineering. I don't know why someone having to publicly say or not publicly say who they love is social engineering.
Guys, I could not be more clear. By the way, let me know in the comments, if you're watching on YouTube, let me know in the comments, am I out of touch? Am I the one who's out of touch here with this opinion? Make sure to subscribe, like this episode, and comment. Let me know. Am I out of touch? Is it just me, or is it a strange flex that this woman is going on an unhinged tirade about how moms should be able to go serve in the military and potentially lose their lives? Because why? Because women can do it too. Like, how disgusting of a position is it that you're like, yeah, well, what are you saying? That moms can't go out there and get themselves killed in the line of duty too, just like men? That is like a certain level of sick. That is disgusting. It is unbelievable to me that we have gotten to seemingly rock bottom with the Democrats arguing for these positions without even understanding how disgusting they are, just for the sake of saying, I'm a feminist. I argued for women's rights. I think women should have the equal right to go out and die on a battlefield and leave their young children with no mother. I support that because yay, feminism. Like, it is some level of just depravity that you have to actually argue for that publicly and think that you are in the right. Or maybe she's just really stupid. I don't know. Maybe it's a combination of both. All I know is that she will be only famous for her viral moment. I just want to get some ranch while she was running for president. Those of you who followed that primary know what I'm talking about. So, you know, she wants to have this high horse that like, oh, what are you talking about? Our military, we should be welcome to all. We need to install as many killers as possible, and they need to be as strong as possible, as physically fit as possible, and as ready as they can to serve their country and go get the baddies. That's it. That's it, Kirsten. Okay? So, you know, I want to round this out with, I would say, two of the most idiotic senators on this particular committee, because this is, of course, the Armed Services Committee. Once this one votes, it, of course, goes out to the floor for a full body vote next week. But I want to let's play fan favorite over here, Hawaii's Democrat Senator Mazie Hirono, who I just want to bring it to your attention that she is talking about these anonymously sourced BS bogus reports that Pete Hegseth showed up to Fox News drunk at work. Nobody would go on the record as saying that. Anonymous sources say that Pete Hegseth was a really bad dude. And I want you to pay attention to the way that she is speaking while she's accusing Pete Hegseth of being drunk on the job. Watch.
I have read multiple reports of your regularly being drunk at work. including by people who worked with you at Fox News.
I'm sorry,
Do
what?
you know that
Are
being
you
drunk at work
ma'am?
is prohibited for service members under the UCMJ?
Do you know?
Senator, those
Yes
are
or no?
multiple false anonymous reports peddled by NBC
Do you
News
know that
run directly
drinking on the job
contradictory to
is
the dozens of men and women at
not
Fox News
contemplated on
Channel
it?
who I work with
I'm
who
not
came
hearing
on
the
the
answer to my
record
question.
and said they
In your
never
opening
seen
statement,
that.
Mr. Hegseth, you commit to holding leaders accountable at all levels. That includes you, of course.
That includes you, of course. That includes you. Why is it that you're drunk at work? I'm the only one that can be drunk at work.
Are you drunk, ma'am? Because we now have more evidence that Senator Mazie Hirono was drunk on the job than we have of Pete Hegseth ever being drunk on the job at Fox News. That is it. We now, just from that clip alone, we have more evidence that Mazie Hirono is the drunk here. I just want that to go on the record. Okay? These people are a freaking joke. She knows that this article, this report, anonymously sourced, no one willing to come up and put their name on it. She knows that it was bogus. Do you know why she knows that it was bogus? Because dozens upon dozens of Fox News hosts, colleagues, crew members, all signed their names to their public statements saying, this is a total lie. I worked closely with Pete every single day, and that never happened. But in her defense, she may have been too drunk to comprehend that. And so it may have just gotten lost in translation. Okay. So, but it's really hard to say because she also is a total idiot otherwise. So I don't even know if it's her being drunk or if it's just her being a total retard. Who's to say? Speaking of that, let's go ahead and play another fan favorite here, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, who, they set themselves up. I just said they set themselves up for these viral moments, these clicks, I'm going to get them. This is going to be a good one. It's going to be a gotcha, coming from the I'm just going to go get me a beer woman. Okay. So I want to play Pocahontas. Well, she had a little oopsie. All right. It was a little oopsie. She thought she had a gotcha and it turned out she didn't at all. Watch.
You're quite sure that every general who serves should not go directly into the defense industry for 10 years. You're not willing to make that same pledge?
I'm not a general, Senator.
You'll be the one, let us just be clear, in charge of the generals.
Let us just be clear. Let us just be clear. He's not a general. So what you just said makes no sense, ma'am. But that's par for the course with all of these Democrats. So again, we'll see if the panel, how the panel votes. And then it would, of course, go to the floor for a full Senate vote. We'll keep an eye on it and bring you the latest. We've got more to come. I want to bring in the panel. First, I want to thank our sponsor here, Relief Factor. So Relief Factor is there for those of you who maybe you just wake up each day in pain. Maybe you go to sleep and your sleep is not so great because you're rolling around, you're tossing and turning, you're waking up because you've got back pain, you've got knee pain, you've got neck pain, whatever the case may be. Please, if pain is affecting your life, try Relief Factor. It's a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. It was developed by doctors, though, by the way. So no one can say it's just a quack. It's just, voodoo. It's just crazy No. It was developed by doctors who were tired of I'm tired of masking pain temporarily. And also I'm tired of giving my patients pain medication that's going to make them feel loopy and out of sorts and they can't drive and they can't operate heavy machinery. No. Try Relief Factor. It has worked for so many people, including me and so many of my guests and my friends here in this building. It's worked for so many of us. Try the 3-week quick start. It's $19.95, less than $1 a day. It just takes you going to relieffactor.com. Get that 3-week quick start, okay? 3-week quick start. 70% of the people who order that go on to keep ordering more. It's working for that many people. It can work for you and it can change your life. Relieffactor.com. All right, I want to welcome now, we have Logan Hall, of course, Blaze Media's digital strategist, along with Eric July, Blaze TV contributor and founder of Rippaverse Comics. Thank you guys for being here. I know we have more to get into, but I wanted to ask you guys if you were watching any of these confirmation hearings today and just the craziness.
Yeah. Got to take a look at it. And the Hegseth thing is interesting. They're really catty, man, those Democrats.
I don't think it's gonna translate though.
I don't think it is either, but they're still catty. They're still
they really are, because I didn't even have time to get into Tim Kaine, who was trying to slam
It was all
him.
so bad. You're like, is there one Democrat who is not insane?
Oh.
But no, they're not from any we heard from today, at least.
No.
They're just all crazy.
Well, and I mean, when you consider that, it still has to go to the full floor. Guys, we just want to make America great again.
It could be so simple.
That's what I'm saying. That's all we need to do. Can we just skip all of these theatrics and dog and pony shows and just get to the good stuff? Because we voted, there was a mandate. I don't know if you saw, there was a mandate to make America great again.
Popular vote, electoral college, every
Thank you.
swing state.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was
Thank you.
very clear mandate.
So can we just that's all we want to do. And by the way, as we like to so often say on the show, you guys will also benefit, okay? When China tries to attack, you guys will also benefit from a woke-free military, okay? You guys will also benefit from the tax breaks and the less red tape and regulations and less crime and, secure borders and, shipping the illegal violent criminals out. We'll allow you to benefit from it too, okay? But all we're asking you to do is just let us make America great again. That's all we're asking. Okay. So I want to get to Jack Smith, special counsel Jack Smith. I don't know if you guys saw this. He released his final, he's resigned, but he's still not going away. Right. And so he released his final report. I believe this was 1:00 in the morning, and claimed that if Donald Trump was not going to be president in 6 days, trust me when I tell you he would be a convicted federal felon. From the New York Times, they said special counsel report says Trump would have been convicted in election case. Now, the funny part of it is, I think that Jack Smith thinks that this is a flex. He's like, yeah, if only the American people didn't decide they wanted him, we definitely would have him in prison. But I think that he's actually accidentally admitting the corrupt nature of the DOJ rather than Donald Trump's guilt in any of this. Because when you look at the DOJ and you look at the way that they've gone after Trump, and you look at the way that they have not done anything to Barack Obama, to Hillary Clinton, to any of the Bidens, it becomes very apparent to literally anyone who has two brain cells to rub together that statement is an indictment on Jack Smith and the DOJ rather than Donald Trump. So let's look at Barack Obama. He, of course, infamously, Eric could probably go on for days about how he droned and killed,
guys are efficient at bombing hospitals, man. That's
really, it's not the thing you want to be efficient at, but he was really good at it, actually. So, you had Eric Holder. We've droned 4 Americans, 3 by accident. Oops. And Eric Holder told Congress that U.S. drone strikes from 2009 to 2013 killed 4 Americans, 3 of whom were not specifically targeted. Another oops. Right. But nothing Barack Obama did was worth digging into. OK, Hillary Clinton, we all know the bleaching of the server, the destruction of the email server, because she, of course, transmitted classified information over that private server that was not secure, that is not allowed. And somehow, even though FBI General Counsel James Baker believed that Hillary Clinton deserved to face charges, it didn't happen. That didn't happen.
The Benghazi thing.
Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Joe Biden and his curious ties to his son's business dealings in Ukraine and China, 10% for the big guy, as we've seen in emails. What is it that they called him? They had a code name to use for him because they were going back and forth on these emails within the White House, and they didn't want it to be able to be searched by FOIA request. And so you had, I think it was Peter. No, maybe that was a different one when they called him Peter. I can't get it straight, because the point is that they have done so many disgusting, corrupt things, and yet the DOJ didn't have anything to say about any of it. So let's just want to get your thoughts on this, guys, but I also want to just remind the viewers here that one of Jack Smith's claims is that Donald Trump engaged in this, they said, unprecedented criminal effort to overturn the legitimate results of the election in order to retain power. I want to repeat the words, unprecedented criminal effort. And I want to play for you what Donald Trump said on January 6, 2021. And then you tell me if this was an unprecedented criminal effort as Jack Smith describes it. Watch.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether Republicans stand strong for integrity of our elections, but whether or not they stand strong for our country.
Oh, wow. That was very criminal, unprecedented criminal effort when you use the term peace and peaceful. And, you usually align that's synonymous with criminal nature. Don't you guys think? I mean, what a jerk.
Not burning down entire cities like we saw that summer or anything.
Right.
It's Trump saying to be peaceful.
What a jerk. Which, by the way, let's talk about that for a second, because Donald Trump is urging people to stay peaceful. And yet Kamala Harris at the time was bailing rioters out. As Logan mentions, cities burn, and Kamala Harris is, I would say, emboldening and enabling the people who are doing the rioting and the burning when she is, of course, funding these GoFundMes for their bail.
Oh, there were reports out, too, that a lot of these people who have been bailed out were terrible, terrible criminals, like sex criminals, violent criminals, like very, very people with long rap sheets.
Yeah.
They're not, I wouldn't say they're the best and brightest of
Really?
citizens.
You wouldn't? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, definitely not. I wouldn't say peaceful either. Similar to our good friend, my good friend, Kyle Rittenhouse, who, everyone wants to talk a big game about the people that he had to shoot in order to, defend himself. And it's like, they were not good people.
It's interesting how he goes into a crowd of leftists and manages to hit like 2 pedophiles. Huh.
That's so, man, those numbers, we should check those out sometime, Eric.
I mean, you had Congress folk during that time as well that were egging this on, that whole, obviously St. George Floyd, the best among us once he had passed away and everybody went crazy. They were essentially egging it on. And I don't remember anybody getting criminal charges pressed. There were people that were killed during those riots. Obviously, billions of dollars worth of just private or maybe perhaps millions of dollars of private property being destroyed.
No, it was billions.
Yeah, it was billions. Yeah, it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money that was basically lit on fire as these cities were on.
But it's okay, Eric, because that's why they have insurance, right?
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's something that a complete retard would say.
Kind of crazy. Now everybody in the West Coast, unfortunately, is finding out that insurance don't work that way, does it? You can't just flip a light switch and they just pay for everything and everything's back in order. No, it doesn't go down like that, unfortunately. But what Jack said was, I would argue, like a better terms, incriminating on his behalf, right? Mm-hmm. Because he's saying that this was, at least I pick it up, and that he's saying that they were trying to throw everything at him, and he was essentially bailed out by becoming a president. They had every intention on ruining that whole deal. It just didn't get the outcome that they were, of course, seeking, right? They wanted to bury him. They wanted this to impact him. And look, we talked about this.
They wanted him dead.
Well, literally. And they tried it twice, if we're going to be completely honest. Lord knows the ones that we don't even know about. But seriously, we talked about it on the show numerous amounts of time, how even if he had lost, as he just confirmed, they were prepared to try to basically put him under the prison to really send a message to not just him. It's really not even about him. It's more up to his base. Right? Mm-hmm. That was what they were attempting to do. And when he explicitly states that's basically the case, I'm going to take him for his word.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, on top of that, in this report, Jack Smith claimed that the investigation was not politicized. And it's like, okay,
Nobody
buddy.
believes that.
Okay, buddy. So you mean to tell me that you have a classified documents case, okay, where with the case of Donald Trump, you raid his home, you raid Mar-a-Lago, 30 FBI agents raiding the home, and they were like going through Melania's underwear drawer. They're going through Barron Trump's. I believe he was a minor at the time. They're going through his stuff. They're totally raiding his entire home. And that's not politicized when you look at how they handled Joe Biden. And even though he kept his dog, let me tell you, Mar-a-Lago is secure. Okay, you can say what you want about the classified documents, and you can have that squabble about whether or not. But if you want to say classified documents versus classified documents, Mar-a-Lago is about as secure as you can get. And Joe Biden had his documents
that is
next to the car
crackhead.
that his crackhead son drove.
Yeah. That's
how secure. That's how secure that was.
Yeah, that's pretty secure.
But the DOJ were like, "Oh, well, we scheduled a meeting with Joe Biden and his lawyers to talk about it."
Well, I'm pretty sure they ruled that. I don't know if it was politicized. Well, I know the thing against Trump was politicized, but Biden, didn't they rule that he was too mentally retarded to actually charge him criminally?
There it is. Biden won't be charged in classified documents case. Special counsel cites instances of poor memory.
Yeah.
And so he went on, he's like, I just think, like, it's not that he didn't do it. I just think that a jury would find him, they would be sympathetic because he seems like a well-meaning elderly man. Yeah. I was like, what? Wait, nowhere did you say that he didn't do the crime that you just were investigating him for. You just said that a jury wouldn't convict him. That's kind of wild. You guys had no problem, full steam ahead when it came to Donald Trump. So, Eric, you say nobody believes that the investigation.
Nobody in their right mind, I guess, could believe that. Especially when you have, look, it's not like we have to go so far back. I know we talked about Obama, and he's an absolute criminal, and everybody that worked under him were criminals. Nothing happened to them. You can make that argument, but we don't. I mean, just lean on your recency bias and what you just discussed and what we just discussed with Joe Biden. So we have an example: classified documents versus classified documents. Apparently, you're saying that one wasn't secure and therefore he must be a criminal. The other one we know wasn't secure for a multitude of different reasons, because of the car that it was in, and his crackhead son. What was he driving around? His nieces or whatever it was in the ride. That sounds pretty out in the open. I don't know, but there was nothing that came about that, and they're saying that it's due to memory loss. I don't know if anybody checked the ages. Biden, he seems a lot older, but he's not that much older than what Donald Trump is. So it's heavily politicized, and anybody with, just a half a brain could sniff that out.
Isn't it shocking when you look at the two, just watch them on a stage together? And to Eric's point, it's like, Joe Biden is only, 2 or 3 years older than Donald Trump? Yeah. He looks like about 1,000 years older.
The Trump curse, though. Trump is like aging in reverse.
He really is.
And
have you looked at the pictures of him compared to when he was in office? I'm like, somehow he does look younger. His hair looks the same. Everything looks the same. He's the only one, when you go back and you look at that meme of like all of the presidents,
like
before and after.
Dude.
Obama went through it.
It takes a heavy toll on all of them except for Trump.
Seriously.
It's very interesting.
So, but you said it's a Trump curse. I would argue that's not a curse.
Curse on Biden, I mean.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's Trump's curse on his enemies.
Yeah. Yeah, his benefit for himself. All right, let's go ahead and let's take a quick break, and we will be back with, I don't want to call it good news yet, but I'll call it a move in a positive direction when we come back. Well, with Donald Trump's, the mandate that the American people sent Congress and all of those who are elected to represent us, we had part of that mandate play out, at least on the House floor. The GOP-led House voted on and passed the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act. Now, this was a campaign promise of Donald Trump that they were going to get men out of women's sports. And the time was of the essence because Joe Biden had attempted to, rewrite the Title IX protections for, to benefit the I'm trying really hard to stay on YouTube. I don't know if we're going to be able to stay on, so I'm just going to tell you guys right now, if we get cut off, make sure you go over to blazetv.com and you can use promo code Sarah for some saving. I'm just trying to give you the truth, and YouTube doesn't let us do that. I'm sorry. I can't do anything about it. Okay. You can save $20 with promo code Sarah, blazetv.com/Sarah. And I'm going to hope and pray that we actually stay on. I don't know, because this one has a mouth.
Yeah, I mean,
and I have a mouth. Okay. So I don't, and I'm sure this one does, although he is much more polite, which is probably why you're my mom's favorite. But so the Biden Department of Education, they were trying to rewrite Title IX, that they wanted to force schools to allow these biological males to compete in women's sports and, of course, share all of these private spaces, dressing rooms, bathrooms, all of that. So you had not just the GOP-led House, but last time they voted on this, 0 Democrats voted in support of it. Now, again, I'm not saying it's a huge number, but they did have 2 Democrats who defected and joined. They didn't have to, though, is the point.
Yeah.
Like they did not have to. The GOP would have already had it. They have the majority. These Democrats did not have to. They could have saved face within their own party and not voted for this, knowing that it would go through anyway. They still chose to. So this was Vicente Gonzalez and Henry Cuellar, both of Texas, who voted in favor of banning biological males from girls' school sports. Guys, I'm just going to call. I want to be optimistic here. I want to say the tide is turning. And if these peoples, even if they're radical and they're in office and they are a Democrat, they see the writing on the wall and they know that they have to go back and answer to their constituents. And they realize that saying that men should be allowed to beat the shit out of women and call it a sport is like not a popular opinion in this country.
No, it's not. It shouldn't be, but they painted themselves in a corner. They kept going along with basically every demand that came from that community, no matter how ridiculous that it got. Okay. And as it went this far, and you saw it just at a mass level, I think a lot of people got peeled on the William Thomas situation because it was so obvious. Well, you have this dude that's bigger than me, and I'm not a small dude by any means, but the guy's bigger than I am out there, absolutely dominating in the water there. And so you had it at this like national level where people just see how crazy that it is, like how ridiculous that this is. And of course, people that are obviously having children, you know, you're putting your folks in your youngsters in sports, you don't want them to have basically their dreams and hopes be derailed because of something that's ridiculous, right? And it's just ridiculous. So even if you do have people that tend to lean left, you like to think that, okay, maybe it's a little too obvious. Maybe this is actually stupid and it shouldn't be anything like, you don't have to go out on a limb or be bold or you're going to be this sort of radical right-wing extremist by simply saying, yeah, dude shouldn't compete with girls. I think that's a reasonable position to take, right?
Yeah, it's like, how is it we find ourselves here?
Extremism in 2025.
Yeah. How does it feel to be a far right-wing extremist, Eric?
Exactly.
That's what's so crazy. Well, to Eric's point, you know, you watch these videos that come out of William Thomas, and just the entrance into the pool, he's so
broad ass shoulders, man. That guy is a tank, man. Absolute unit, man.
Who would look at this and be like, "This is fair. This is totally fine."
I'm pretty sure we have our first transgender member of Congress. In this Congress now, which is an interesting development. So I don't know. You know, you like to ask like, will the left double down or will they kind of shy away from the insanity? I think they are probably going to double down.
They always do.
Yeah, they're never going to move like back towards the center. What even is the center now? The center now is just like what the left was pushing for 10 years ago. This is the problem with like they just keep pushing things further and further to the left and keep cementing these victories. And then even if you pull it back a little bit, you're still where they were, accepting their gains essentially. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, if only 2 Democrats voted for it, that's kind of a pretty, I mean, you say like they have to go back to their constituents, but I really don't think, you know, it's to have to defend that is indefensible. So either they are comfortable losing and they know they're going to lose, or they just feel comfortable that they can do this and get away with it, and they're not going to face any pushback from their constituents whatsoever.
I mean, which
is the darker scenario, by the way.
Sure. It was like, well, we see that happening with the Texas House Speaker race, which I have some thoughts on that tomorrow. We just didn't have time because of the timing of the vote and how long it took. But it was actually really like startling to me. When I was in DC not that long ago, my new congressman, Brandon Gill, he invited us to go celebrate his swearing in, and so
Great
we were there.
congressman, by the
he's
way.
amazing. Yeah, he's gonna be a fighter.
Attention to Brandon Gill.
Yes,
He's good.
Yes, he's gonna be a fighter, and by the way, much more of a fighter than our prior congressman. So just saying, but. It was so striking to me, something that I already knew existed, which was that these Congress members had trans flags outside of their office. And there's something about like knowing it and seeing it in pictures and going into this beautiful building with this rich history. And you get this, we had this private tour of like, this is what this painting is depicting. And if you look on the ceiling, this was this moment in history. And it's just so like you feel so amazing about our country and all of that we've accomplished. And then I walk upstairs in the office building to Nancy Pelosi's office, and there's like a trans flags, and I'm just like,
You're like, is this what the founding fathers intended?
Literally.
I don't think George Washington would recognize that flag.
No, that's why I'm just like, this is so disgraceful that it's the American flag, the California flag, and then the trans flag. Like that is the importance that they put on the trans flag. They put it right next to the American flag and their state flag. It was so like I got a knot in my stomach. There it is. Yeah, there's me. I mean, I had to do my Nancy Pelosi, which we don't have time for. But yeah, that was me outside of Nancy Pelosi's office impersonating Nancy Pelosi with the trans flag right next to the like there's just something so gross.
And it tells you that
doing that.
It tells you that is the real flag that they honor, because if you burn the American flag, they're totally okay with that. But if you burn the pride flag, it is hate crime charges time. So which flag actually represents the nation to them? It is not the American flag.
Exactly.
It is their
Yes, that is their identity. That is their religion. It clearly. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Oh, gosh, I have bad news.
What?
I hate to give you guys bad news. I'm going to try to get through this without getting emotional. The head of MSNBC is out as ratings plunge after Donald Trump's election. Oh, God. Oh, seeing it on paper is so much more painful. Oh, no. The network also saw its primetime ratings in November decline by 22% from October. Let me just tell you, that's just going to keep compounding, and people are going to keep jumping ship because you guys are toast. You guys are done. You have gone too far. There is no coming back from the abysmal lies that you shared with the American public day in and day out. And they said, we're done with you in the election. And I just, we just love to see it. I'm sorry. I forgot I was supposed to be really upset. Moment of silence. Okay, that's enough. And it's not just MSNBC, guys. It's also the Washington Post. There was a headline yesterday. Washington Post has lost nearly 90% of its audience since 2020. Oh, I can't even pretend to be sad.
Democracy dies in darkness. It's getting pretty dark around here.
Like really dark. Like we cannot see at all right now. So from 2021 to 2024, daily traffic dropped by 20 million views, and which you can imagine is why Jeff Bezos is like, oh, let's hire more conservative writers. Bro, you're done. You're done.
It's over for you.
It's totally over for you. Why would Americans go back to trusting these people? They've gone too far.
I don't even think that's obviously a big part of it. I think even more so is that this was a side effect of really what happened in 2020 when they told people to just really stay in their rooms and not move, or you were killing grandmas. And I maybe didn't envision that this was going to happen because obviously, Sarah, I had a massive explosion out of that whole era because of the stuff that I was covering on the whole COVID situation, right? But what people got used to is going through unconventional means to get their news, right? and en masse. And CNN was pissy about it, saying that people were going to, I think at the time it was like Crowder, they were crying about because more people were viewing his show at the time than they were viewing their own stuff, right? So they're visibly like, well, of course it's for them. They're like, oh, we're the ones that are the legitimate form of
the
information.
high priest,
right? So it's not coming from us. And how dare these people get out there and basically beat you and outpace you? This is something that is happening really across all industries. I call this entertainment because that's more what it is. Especially across all entertainment industries, people are finding these alternatives. So there's not going to be a bounce back from mega corporate entity when they can get their information to someone that's going to be far more reliable. They're not going to have to mask any of that nonsense, and they are way more personable there. So I don't think there's going to be any return to form for them.
Yeah, and there's something actually so deeply personal about seeing how much money these people make and have made to just lie to the American people and to be constantly wrong. And I'm sitting here like working my ass off. We're demonetized on YouTube. I'm just like, screw you people. I wish you the absolute worst. You have profited off of lying to the American public. We're out here just trying to get the truth out. And YouTube and all the other, censors, we're trying real hard not to let that happen. Thank God for Elon. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like, you know what? It's personal for me. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, people are, I'm kind of firmly in your camp with this. I really I despise the media. I despise these people.
What do we say? However much you hate the media, it isn't enough.
It isn't enough. And Washington Post, I saw they got rid of Jennifer Rubin yesterday. What a tough scene. What a terrible.
Another smallest violin.
Well, smallest violin. I know that the Los Angeles Times just tried to hire Mark Andreessen to put on their board. I know the publisher guy over there is I think he's a really rich Korean guy. Yeah. And he's trying to shift. And I've heard from Los Angeles Times is pretty much like as far left as you can get, like California politics. Mm-hmm. So if they're trying to shift their model, you have to think about what's happening at like MSNBC, some of these places that you could say are maybe a little bit more moderate than the LA Times. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be a bounce back for them. They have burnt all of their credibility to the ground. These people have no credibility whatsoever. They've destroyed themselves. The experts in the media class have all destroyed themselves. They have nothing. And that is a welcome development for America. I think 2024, you're saying 2020 is when it happened. 2020 was sort of like lifting the veil. Mm-hmm. But then 2024 is when you saw this new media ecosystem sort of start to arise. People doing all of their shows on Twitter, for instance. The rise of Trump was doing like a podcast a day, So I think Americans are going to, they found new experts now and they found new sources of information. And this is where you see a lot of the media is not happy about it.
Yeah.
We are though, so keep joining us at the Blaze.
Please, the Blaze. We'll continue to give you truth. That's not going to change. We are not in it for raking in the millions like them. All right, before we go, I do want to play Joe Biden. The dude is cooked. Okay, good riddance. Here's Joe Biden's latest. Watch.
Look, let's get something in mind about the border. When I became president, the numbers came way down. Number one. Number two. We had a circumstance where I pushed very hard for a bipartisan agreement to put more people on the border, more Secret Service agents.
Secret Service agents?
What? He's on the phone saying, don't do it, make me look bad.
Literally neither of those things were true.
All right, Grandpa, let's get you to bed.
Take your pudding and go to sleep.